views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to the transformative show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now? And who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine. Now, here is your host, Dr. Susan Allison.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Carry the Light. So please excuse my froggy voice. I am getting over a cold that served to, well, I say served because I needed to slow down. It slowed me down and got me to rest. I actually took a 2-hour nap yesterday, which is something that I rarely do, can't do, because I'm pretty hyper as a person. I have tons of very, very high energy, which I love. But I burned myself out with this new book that just came out, etc. So today, after resting, I feel so much better. And more importantly, I've had time to be open to receiving insights and more creativity. Now, you've heard me speak before on other shows about what I call divine downloads, especially when it comes to new book ideas and my songwriting. Well, my latest book, as you know, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, just launched a week ago. Yay. I'm very excited. And it was the most creative experience of my life. And it wasn't just written by me, as I say in the acknowledgments, but my departed husband, who's now a guardian angel, and God really worked through me. And I felt like the book wrote itself on some days. Words just poured onto the page. At times, I remember I could barely type because it was coming so fast, and I couldn't even capture them all at times, all the words coming in. For me, this was a magical experience, and it's been one I've had many times with songwriting. More with my songwriting than the writing of my nonfiction books. So at times I'm driving in my car, or I'm walking on a beach, I'm meditating or coming out of deep sleep, and a song or an idea just seems to pour into my head like honey. And I sometimes get all the lyrics and the melody at once. It just downloads all of it, and I have to quickly record it on my iPhone to be sure that I can capture it. As you can imagine, this feels really magical. And I know that God is really the songwriter, or the two of us are collaborating or co-creating something that really feels heavenly to me. It's incredible. And as always is the case, we have the perfect guest with us today. He is Tom Bird, whose new book, Write, which is WRITE/RIGHT, Write from God, reflects exactly what I've experienced personally. So let me tell you something about Tom. He has a long, long bio because he's done so much, but I'll try to simplify it a bit. Besides his Write Your Bestseller in a Weekend retreats, which he does, I believe, in Sedona, Arizona, he has gained worldwide acclaim for those retreats, but also he has given more than 4,500 lectures in 120 plus colleges and universities. He's been at Duke University, the College of William and Mary, Ohio State, and many, many others. Tom has also written 28 books, count them, several of which have been bestsellers. His books have been featured in every major newspaper, as well as on major radio and television talk shows. And one of them was The Late Show with David Letterman. His authors have succeeded as well. In 2014 alone, 21 of his authors who came to his retreats achieved #1 Amazon bestsellers. Over the years, because of this inside-out spiritual nature of the method he shares, he's become known by those who studied with him as the book whisperer, the book shaman, or literary midwife. Tom's latest book, which is the one we're going to be talking about today, is called Right from God, which is already a #1 Amazon bestseller. And, claims that the reason many of us are drawn to write books is because in penning them, we're given the opportunity to commune directly with God, just what I was talking about earlier. And, God urgently desires to bridge the gap between the human side of us and the divine within us. And as I've often said on my show, we are divine humans. We do carry the light. And you can find out more about Tom by going to www.tombird.com. Tom, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
You're so welcome. I could relate, as you could tell from the opening, I could relate to everything in your book. You were definitely preaching to the choir here. Since much of what you say in your book I've experienced myself. So thank you for helping me claim my experience more fully.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I've been teaching now for 32 years and work with new authors, and the experience that you described is what I see on a monthly basis at my retreat, where people come with a desire to write a book. Oftentimes that desire is fueled by faith. Oftentimes it's fueled by desperation. Most of them have tried to write or attempted to write, even required degrees in writing, and have not been able to fulfill their desires because they had not seen writing as a spiritual art form that it is. They approached it from a purely intellectual level. And what I help people do is understand that writing is a holistic art form, which embodies their physicality, their mental state, their emotional state, and most of all, the spiritual state. And what really, Susan, I see is that the book matters. There's no doubt the message of the book matters. But what matters most, I really think, to the divine who's trying to get in touch with us is that the divine is using the book as a bridge to commune directly again with the human that he or she's trying to reach. And, so we've been very successful at our retreats. We've seen many bestsellers. 97% of the people that show up at our retreats finish their books in a weekend. That's all great. But the biggest thing I'm seeing is life transformation, healing of emotional wounds, physical wounds, getting over previous mental barriers, and opening up to the true purpose and desire of the spiritual being we call a human being.
That's right. I'm so glad that you brought up wounds because I was so impressed with your authenticity in describing your own childhood in the book, talking about your own struggle, your own dark night of the soul. And I wanted to start with your childhood just because what hit me is that you didn't attach as much to your parents, but you never lost your connection or attachment to God. It's like your umbilical cord, in a sense, was to God. Whereas my mother was so amazing that I, in a sense, made her my God. And I separated from God as I was growing up. And so I've never read that anywhere where you never lost your connection to God. So I wondered if you could talk about that and just talk about your personal life a little more, because that's my listeners are always very interested in the real personal story of each author.
Sure, I'll be happy to. I really owe any success I've had in my life to my parents' dysfunction.
Yep.
And that may sound very odd, but the truth of the matter was that when I was born, I was the fifth of 5 children, the youngest by 9 years. I was probably an accident. And my parents had a terrible marriage, and they were so caught up in their own dysfunction and argumentative relationship that when I was born, they didn't really have the time or the attention or the ability to nurture me emotionally. And so when we're born, we normally transfer our relationship with the divine to our parents because we see them as our gods.
Yes.
Well, my parents were there physically, but they weren't really there emotionally, so there was no one to hand off that control of my life off to. So I maintained my connection with God. I mean, I didn't realize that it was weird and unique to talk to God consistently and hear God reply back until I was about 8 or 9 years old, and I realized no one else was doing it because I was surrounded by functional families, and they had my buddies and my friends that I grew up with had transferred the responsibility of the divinity in their lives to their parents.
Yes.
So, really what I teach and what I show people is to return to the innate state of communing directly with God. And I'm good at that because I never lost that direct innate state because I never transferred it away from my parents. And, so we can always look back and say, oh, I suffered from the abuse of neglect or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, I chose my parents.
Yeah.
And I chose them for a specific reason because they would best facilitate what I would do as an adult in my life. And I'm thankful for the relationship I had with my parents. If I didn't have the relationship I had with my parents, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now, and I would have missed my calling. And their dysfunction was a beautiful gift for me. And the pain that they had to put up with in their interpersonal relationships as a result of their dysfunction was a huge sacrifice to be able to facilitate what I needed as a human being as their child. So I'm thankful I had the parents I had.
Yeah, I love the way you've reframed that. Reframed it and are seeing what happened as a gift, which it is. Because what you described is exactly what I did, which was to transfer my love of God as my divine parent to my parents. I had a dysfunctional alcoholic father, but I had an amazing mother and clung to her because I felt like at times she was saving my life. And I made her God. And so it took me years to get back to this divine parent, the divine relationship, the divine parent, which you had all along. At 8 or 9 years old, it's amazing to me that you had that deep connection even then, and that you didn't let the fact that other kids weren't having that experience, you didn't let that be daunting for you. You really hung on to it, which I really honor you for.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but I had no other choice.
I know.
I had the parent that I had, and he, she, or it was invisible. But it was very prevalent in my life. And, all through the years of my upbringing, I made time every day to talk to God, not out of respect, not out of need, but out of just common parental guidance. Instead of going to my parents and asking for guidance, I went to God. And, I didn't realize until my teenage years that my friends were doing the same thing.
I think it's amazing.
Initially, I thought I was weird and odd, but then I have come to realize that I was provided with a very special situation. I'm so thankful for my parents' dysfunction. I'm so thankful for my upbringing. And it wasn't really dysfunction because it really served a purpose,
That's right.
So I guess calling it dysfunction is demeaning, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Well, it was what it was. Your parents were responding and reacting probably to their own childhoods, to their own wounds. But I love the way you've reframed it, and I think it's going to help people who are listening. And I want to go on to, gosh, at such a young age in your 20s, it looked like you got the perfect job. You were PR for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I want you to talk about why you left and what happened next.
Well, I went to a small state school with an excellent writing program called Slippery Rock State University in Pennsylvania. It's about 45 miles north of Pittsburgh. And I had no aspirations of getting a job. My father had a job. He hated his job.
Right.
The best bit of advice he ever gave me was, don't worry about a career or money. Find out what you love to do and just do it, and that career or money will fall in place. And so I had no aspirations of getting a job. But in my senior year, since I was such an outstanding student, the university came to me and made it known that they had an open door policy with the Pittsburgh Pirates, that if they had a graduate coming through their system that was so outstanding that they could holistically recommend that student as an employee, that there would be a job immediately open for them. So they came to me and said, do you want a job with Pittsburgh Pirates? And my initial reaction was, no, I don't want a job. I was going to go to the Bahamas and write my first novel. but I listened to friends and family say, just take it. It's an honor. I took the job. it was in April 1979 when I started the job, and I was a publicist for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we won the World Series that year. And we won as a result of the actions of Willie Stargell, who was the most famous athlete in the United States at that time. And Willie and I became best friends. And he saw life in a much different way as a communal society, and he saw all of us as one. And we didn't have the most talent on the team, but we had the best team because of Willie, because he brought out everyone's best and combined it into one very powerful tool. And I learned more about mentoring and humanity and love and spirit and life in that first year with the Pirates than I've learned since. He was an amazing teacher. We were called the Family. I don't know if you remember the old Sister Sledge song, "We Are Family."
Yeah.
That was our theme song, and we were a very charismatic team. And I stayed with the team for 4 years beyond that. And I didn't really want a job. I knew what I wanted to do with my life. And I had the downside was I was really good at my job because I'm a good employee, and I was being geared to be a president of a baseball team by my mid-30s. And but I was getting more and more depressed as each day went on because I wasn't living my purpose. So finally, in 1983, I had a mini nervous breakdown, came back from a baseball game one night and just fell on my knees and just buried myself in a trail of tears. And I didn't know what to do. I knew what I was. I was an author, but I had applied everything that I had been taught, I'd read or heard about writing to progressing my career as an author, and nothing was working. And the only person I had not gone to up to that point was God.
Yeah.
And in my tears, first of all, I apologized. I said, "I'm sorry I didn't come to you earlier. I don't know why I didn't. I should have came to you years ago." But I just said, basically, no one down here knows what the hell they're doing in regards to becoming authors. And I think you do. And if you share with me the system to become an author, I promise you I'll spend the rest of my life sharing that system with others. So 2 nights later, I woke up in the middle of the night from a dream, half in a dream state, half in a waking state. And I could see in the dream exactly what I needed to do to become the author I already was, and or I felt I was. And I put that into play, and 4 weeks later, I sold my first book, tripled my salary, and quit my job. And so I started teaching afterwards.
Wow.
It's
an amazing story. Amazing story. And your book was about Willie.
Yeah, it was brought Willie to tears. It was Willie's life story.
That's right.
And he and I are still, he crossed over about 12 years ago, but we're still very close. I still feel his essence with me every day. And he's the closest man to God that I ever met in my life.
Oh, I'm so glad that you had him in your life. And in a way, it makes up for what happened in your childhood with your parents. It's like, you found some of what you needed, I think, with him.
Yes, with Willie, there was a real resonance. We resonated spiritually. He was an older version of me.
Yeah.
He taught me where I was going, who I was, and he helped make me a man, a spiritual man, not just a man, but a spiritual man. And he taught me so many beautiful things that I apply every day of my life. And I'm just so fortunate to have had him in my life.
Yeah, no, you were. And, it's interesting what you said. You said something about that you became the author that you always were, and that you had the book inside you. And you say this in your book, throughout your book, Right from God. You talk about that we already are this author. We already have these books inside us, and we already, can connect with God, and it just pours forth. Can you talk about that process?
Sure. Basically, when I started teaching, I did so out of respect and obligation. I really had no personal desire to teach. And I really thought that once God saw how bad of a teacher I was, that he'd let me out of my deal that I made with him. But what I really found out was that there's so much to learn about what I already knew. And my best teachers have been my students, my authors. And what they've taught me are a few basics. Number one, they taught me that the reason people want to write is because they've got books stuck inside them that they need to get out. Stuck inside them. So we don't have to create a book, because creation, wow, that carries a lot of weight and a tremendous amount of responsibility. Creating something. I don't know about you, but the only thing I've ever created in my life was confusion. But what we have to do is tap into that book and release it. They've also showed me that the books that we want to write are already written on the other side of life. And I don't think we're co-authoring them consciously right now. I think we wrote them with God before we were born. Because the individuals that attend my retreats, when they tap into the books come out that they had not expected. They come out easily, smoothly, successfully, joyfully. And third of all, because these books are a spiritual entity, they bring the power of the white light of God through with them. They bring it through with them. And when that white light comes through them, they heal. And God's purpose in healing us is to create more of a direct communion between us and God. So we don't have to swerve our way around dysfunction any longer, or fear, or abuse, or pain, or anger, or frustration. That direct connection can be reestablished once again. So the whole purpose of healing, this white light coming through us as a book, is to heal those wounds so that the direct communion can take place. And, that's what they've taught me. And really, what we're doing is when we write a book using the method that I share, which I believe is the method to write books, the spiritual method to write books, we are recommuning with God. That's what we're doing. And as a result, when we recommune with God, the light of God comes in, and our lives change. I've seen physical ailments heal, relationships heal all the time, attitudes heal all the time. I've seen life purposes birth, voices birth, and that's what I do. And I don't want to take false credit for that transpiring. What I do is I help the author connect again directly with the Almighty, and the Almighty takes care of the rest.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing, And 81% of Americans, according to the New York Times, believe they have a book stuck inside them that they need to get out. And I believe it's really a lot more than about the book. I mean, it's about the author, it's about life, it's about purpose, it's about message. It's about transformation. And it's about returning to that peace that we all seek, but we cannot find. But I can take anybody and apply my method and have them writing at 2,000 words an hour within 20 minutes. Without any practice. Because, again, we are returning to an innate state that we forgot existed, because we believe writing is a mental art form, which it is, but it is also a spiritual, a physical, and emotional art form too. So when I do a lecture, for example, I'll lecture for 20 minutes and then we do some writing. And one of the things I want to prove to people is how easily it is to connect to their author within, how easy it is. And then I want to show them what that translates to. And usually it translates to a minimum of 2,000 words pouring out per hour out of them. And life becomes really easy when that happens.
So how does someone know that he or she has a book in them, first of all? And then we'll get to how to tap into what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a few telltale signs, Susan. Number one, if people reflect back to you that you should write a book, they're speaking for your soul. Hey, Susan, you should write a book. Wow, you'd be a great author. You tell great stories. You've got so much wisdom, you should write a book. If someone is telling you that or has told you that, that is a definite sign that they're picking up something inside you that you don't have the ability to see on your own, number one. Number two, if you get compliments on your writing, whether it's a Christmas newsletter you're putting out or a blog or a term paper you've written, just a simple letter. If you get compliments by people where they've been really touched by your writing, that's the second sign. Third sign is if you continually have ideas popping in your mind. If you continue to have ideas popping in your mind, you're taking a nice, long, peaceful drive in a car, or you wake in the middle of the night with that inspiration, that's your book trying to come through. Mm-hmm. And fourth, if you're constantly drawn to bestseller lists, if you're constantly looking at them for no other reason than to see what's there, that is your book trying to say, Susan, look at this list here. We can get there. We want to get there, but we need your help to get there. This is where we're going. This is our roadmap. This is our destination. So any one of those four signs are indicative of the fact that someone has a book stuck inside them trying to get out.
Yeah, no, it's perfect what you just shared. And I've experienced all the things that you just listed. And I have a book that just came out last Tuesday, and I have been on, oh my gosh, I've been on probably 15 radio shows in a week. It's been crazy, and it's exciting. And my publicists back east wants me to be on Oprah's Sunday show, and I keep having dreams, and I keep seeing myself sitting there talking to Oprah. And whether that happens or not, it's so like in my consciousness, it's sort of being downloaded. So that's happening for me right now, what you're talking about.
That's your soul speaking to you. That all these signs and the signs you're experiencing right now, Susan, it's like your soul looking in a mirror and trying to get you to see the reflection of back into your conscious mind. So it's your soul speaking to you. It's your soul of an author speaking to you. And it's not something that you're creating through your imagination because of your need or your egos. That has nothing to do with it. It's your soul trying to say, Susan, here's where we want to go. Put on your shoes. Let's walk across the street and go together. So it's trying to say to you, here's where we're going. Just go with us. Don't worry about how we're going to get there. Don't worry about what we're going to do when we do get there. Let's just go.
I love it, Tom. I love your optimism. I love your spirit. And we do need to take a break. I'm sorry to say, everyone out there, but we'll be right back with Tom Bird.
I've been a walking heartache. I've made a mess of me. The person that I've been lately ain't who I want to be, but you stay here right beside.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.
Put a little woohoo in your life with Keys. Keys Clear Protein Waters have 22 grams of smile-making, attitude-adjusting protein in every bottle. Did I mention its tongue-tingling taste? Not just another guilty pleasure. With Keys, you'll enjoy every low-sugar sip and freedom from gluten, lactose, and GMOs. Who needs the fountain of youth when you can find Keys on Amazon or at Keys, Kees, please.com. Put a little woohoo in your attitude with Keys Protein Water.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthисfunny.com today.
Hi, I'm Leslie Fontaine with Sheer Alchemy on Transformation Talk Radio, and here's your tip of the day. When it comes to positive thinking and the law of attraction, many of us could say, been there, done that, read the book. So what happened if we didn't get there, didn't achieve the goal, didn't step into our abundance? Typically, there are some core wounds and core fears that keep us from stepping out. We also have energies in our ancestral lines, our cultural and family codes, and even agreements that keep us in check. So let me challenge you. When you had the desire that burned in your soul, what happened? How did discouragement set in? Why did you stop? What came up for you? Whose voices? Listen, there's hope, but it does not come from suppressing the energy that's within you. We all know it's going to spill out somewhere. So join me on Transformation Talk Radio and Sheer Alchemy, and we're going to find out how we can shift you into the intentions that can manifest for you.
Are you ever consumed with the idea that something needs to change? You hear Oprah and other inspiring people talk about living your authentic life, and yet it's much easier said than done. Duda, the kick-ass muse, has crafted a world-renowned coaching platform that will help you get clarity on the issues you face, take bold risks, get back your confidence, and brave your fears. To learn more and work with Duda today, visit kickassmuse.com.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
God gave me you for the ups and downs. God gave me you for the days of doubt. And for when I think I lost my way.
Wow, Benny, what a beautiful song.
I'd like to give kudos to Blake Shelton for that one. It wasn't just me. I wish I could sing like that.
Blake Shelton, God Came to Me. Wow, I have goosebumps all over me since that's what we're talking about with Tom Bird and his wonderful book, Right from God. And during the break, Tom, you and I were talking about that some of the things we write are sort of revolutionary, and they could shake people up a little bit, but people are more ready for it than they've ever been. Talk about your recent book and how it's really a breakthrough book.
Well, it's a breakthrough book because what I'm basically saying in the book is your desire to write is achievable, number one. Number two, it's more important than anything probably in your life, because if you write your book, you'll connect directly with God. You'll become the barometer, you'll become the antenna that you are meant to be to positively influence life, not only your life, but every life around you. And this is time right now. Our worlds are changing so quickly, and it seems chaotic. But the first step of positive change is always chaos, and chaos is just an expression of something unknown, unrealized, unexperienced. And God is calling to all of us to write our book, so we can become the antennas of God's love that we're all meant to be. Now, it doesn't matter what type of book you write. You can write a nonfiction book, you can write a novel, you can write a children's book, you can write a book that makes people smile, make them laugh, you can write a book that makes them think or challenges them. But this is God's way of trying to reach other human beings, is through us as authors. And we're given credit for writing the books when we really don't write them. It's dictation, pretty much. It's dictation. Right. And I try not to use the word channeling because I believe in channeling. I just don't believe in the sanctity of it because this is a direct communion with God. And this is the time, man, our world wants to take a huge leap forward, and it's our choice to either take that leap with it or be left behind. And no one wants to be left behind. And God's giving every opportunity possible for us to move forward by communing directly with He, she, or it, so that love can come pouring through us, and that wisdom and that insight and that perspective. You know, I'm amazed daily how great God thinks I am, because I don't think that highly of myself, but boy, I'm put in positions to succeed where I will not fail, that I do not feel personally prepared for, but I always succeed because God knows me better than I know myself, you know?
It's so true.
That's an ultimate gift, and I don't really, I think the ultimate goal of life is peace. And to achieve peace, we have to be one with our voice, our God voice. We have to be one with our purpose. We have to be living it. Now, oftentimes people believe that they have to do so much to live their purpose. And that, man, all you got to do is just show up, you know. We're all part of a really huge team, and we're a very important aspect of that team. We're like with a quarterback of our own team. But there's, 21 other guys on the team that play a very significant role. We just get to choose where we're going to toss the ball or hand the ball off, or what play we're going to call. But we are a part of a huge team, and I don't really think you can have peace without the embodiment of divine purpose. And the writing of your book, through the method that I I was given that I share is a way to achieve divine purpose and peace as a result.
Yes.
And your books won't leave you. You know this, Susan. Your books will not leave you alone. They are your best friends. They're your worst enemies. You know, they're best friends because they'll stay with you no matter what. They're your worst enemies because they won't leave you no matter what. As much as you want to get rid of them or don't feel like you deserve to write them, they're going to stay with you because they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And that's God's love coming through.
That's right. And, you know, you said something about the time in which we live right now, that people need these messages more than ever, and people want them and are ready for them. And I do feel that part of this, and for my listeners that are skeptical, or my listeners who are saying, well, this is all very nice, this is so, you know, kind of abstract, talking about God, let's talk about how people go about doing this. And I was thinking as you were talking that we live in such a frenetic world. It's moving so fast. And I see people on their devices all the time, and they don't stop. Because one of the things that you talk about in the book at the end is that we do need to stop, and we do need to listen, and we do need, in a sense, to slow down, as I have having this cold. So talk about how people do this, because I feel like people are not stopping. They're not slowing down, that they're not listening, that there is this, I see a frantic pace all around me every day.
Let me give you a step-by-step approach.
Great.
Firstly, you have to decide if you feel you have a book coming through you. We've kind of already gone over that.
Yeah.
If you feel you have a book coming through you, what do you do? That's the next question. What do you do? Number one, you go to my website, tombird.com. On that website, you will find a freebie page. I tie through giving away 10% of my products for free. And there's two things on that freebie page you especially want to pay attention to. One is a book called Right to Heal. Right to Heal. It's the smallest, most powerful book that I've ever written. I give it away for free. So you go to my website, download Right to Heal, and also download Transitioning Back to the Author You Were Meant to Be, which is a CD that I produced that people can use to dip into this divine state that we're talking about. So first of all, go to the website, download those two items. They're for free. This is my ministry. This is what I do. I want to help as many people transform as possible through the writing. Second of all, make time to sit down, listen to the CD, and go through Right to Heal. To do the two of those, I would budget 10 to 12 hours. It's better if you could do that 10 to 12 hours over the course of a few days as opposed to a few weeks, because it will have going through these exercises will have a very addictive, positively addictive approach where you won't want to stop until you're done. Going through Right to Heal and using the transition CD to augment that action will help clear out all those misconnections, miswirings we all have that keep us from that direct connection with God. Number three, after you're done with that, pick a specific time when you're going to write your book. Now, what I strongly suggest is choose a 3-day weekend. When God starts coming through, God comes through fast. It's easier just to go. It's easier just to go with God than to try to throw the brakes on God because you're running out of time.
Yeah.
Now, your listeners are probably wondering, well, how can I write a book in a weekend? When you do Right to Heal and clear out all that mess of confusion, your writing speed normally will go up to approximately 2,500 words an hour. The average length of an American adult book is 35,000 words.
Yeah.
So it takes about 14 hours to write the book. So pick a specific time that you're going to write your book. Fourth, pick a specific place. A place you're not going to be interrupted. A place that you can take a retreat to. It can be a hotel, friend's house. Maybe you have a special place in your home that you can sanction off as your writing space, and do that. Now, when you begin writing your book, let me give you a few cues on that too. Number 5, always listen to the CD that you'll be downloading for free. There's two two tracks on the CD. First is a relaxation track, which relaxes your mind, opens you up to your right brain, your God self. The second track is subliminal by nature. It keeps you in that state. Be playing that. Start out your writing of your book in longhand initially, just to establish a tactile connection with your book. Stay with that book for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and it'll come. Once you do Write to Heal, it'll open the doorways for that book to come through. Once that book starts coming through, sit down and write for 2 hours straight. Take a break for 15 minutes. Every 4 hours, take a dinner break, and write. Let the book write itself through you. And that's a very important concept for people to embrace. The book will write itself through you.
Yes.
The book will write itself through you. It will be different than you anticipated. It will be different than you'd anticipated, maybe slightly different or greatly different, but it will be different than you anticipated. Maintain a good, strong writing speed. The reason that's important is because the faster we write, the less time we have to think. Because when we think, we leave that God state. And when we write fast, we're communing directly with God. You want to average at least 1,500 words per hour, which is very achievable and very easy to do. And when you feel ready, you can transition to the keyboard if you like. And just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep giving into the experience. Your book will finish itself within 6 to 18 hours of actual writing speed, writing time.
Wow.
When it finishes, you will not know even 5 minutes in advance when it's going to finish. You'll be writing, and then it ends. And you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the book has concluded itself because you can feel that version of your literary relationship ending.
Yeah.
We've all had relationships end, personal and professional. And they may have technically still been in place, but we knew they were over. When you're done with your book, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, it's just, I'm done. And the biggest byproduct of writing your book and finishing your book is not jubilation. No one feels jubilant. Wahoo! I finished my book. No one feels that way. They go beyond jubilation to peace.
Yeah.
Oh, I did what I came here to do.
Yeah.
I took a very important step. Now, I realize there's more steps, but I took the biggest step, and I feel great about it. So, Aristotle said to live a full and complete life, every human being needed to do a few things, one of which was write a book, because Aristotle understood the spiritual significance of transformation experience of writing. Because when you write properly, when you write with God, which means writing fast, you are with God. And God and you download that book together. And the Kennedys have been excellent at that. Normally before one of the Kennedys receive one of their inheritances as a child or as an adolescent, they have to write a book. Because the Kennedys recognize the fact that when you write a book, it helps you release your voice, your purpose, your understanding, so you have a blueprint of where you're going and how you're going to spend all that money they're going to give you. So it's a pretty common practice, what I talk about, in different pockets of society. Academically, we're way off base in regards to how we teach writing, because writing is taught from an intellectual point of view.
Yeah.
But if anyone out there is struggling with writing, there's nothing, I want to say this loud and clear, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you as a writer. There's something wrong with the system that you're embodying. Because there's nothing, you're perfect already. You're a child of God. You have innate abilities. You've just inappropriately been innocently and inappropriately taken away from those innate abilities and put in a foreign state that just doesn't work. Return to the innateness of your being a child of God, and everything will work. So if things aren't working for you as an author, it's not your fault. Not your fault. Change the system. Look in a different direction.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how in your book, by the way, we're talking with Tom Bird, and he's such an amazing, I can't even come up with a word that, but just you're such a spokesperson for the divine, and talking to us about what has worked for you, what has worked for all the people you've worked with. But it just feels like you are, you're almost, and I don't want to say this in a way, but almost like a prophet, a writing prophet. You're talking to us about what works. And I loved how in the book you said, there isn't writer's block. And, you talk about the ego, and I love how you describe in the book how to get out of that mindset, and it's out of the negativity and the self-degradation of, oh, I can't do this, that there is no writer's block. I love that.
Thank you. There isn't any writer's block.
No.
We can choose to embrace excuses why we don't want to succeed or can't succeed, or we can choose to embrace excuses why we will succeed. It's a choice. And life is nothing more than a choice between pain and joy.
Mm-hmm.
If you limit yourself, you're going to have pain. And pain is nothing more than resistance to growth. And that pain is trying to make us grow. There's that old saying, no one changes till the pain gets so great that they have to. Pain is our friend. It hurts, but it causes us to change and levitate beyond our beliefs. So life is a choice continually between fear and love, and pain and joy. And you can have all the joy you want, but you've got to embody the fact that you are a child of God. You are a derivative of God. You have the abilities of God. And our whole purpose on this life is to be challenged by the rigors of life and still maintain who we are, or find who we are as a result of those rigors. And writing is a way, it's so easy to alleviate all the confusion that we all feel from time to time and reconnect with our divine selves through writing. And if you have a book inside you, or if you feel you need to write a book, or people keep telling you need to write a book, or you've run into a situation where words just poured out of you at some point or another, all those are signs that God's trying to reach you through the writing of your book, and trying to reach beyond you to others who you could touch through the writing of that book. And this is a divine right. This is something you agreed to before you got down here. And if you're feeling this more strongly and it's getting out of control to the point where you can't control it, you can't box it up anymore, that's because it's time. It's time. Your audience is ready. The book is needed, and your voice is needed, and you're needed. And that's the whole essence of writing books. Yes.
And speaking of reaching, I'd love for you to tell people how to reach you, how to contact you, get your book, how to attend your workshops.
TomBird.com, our website. It's the easiest way to find out anything you need to know about me, and there's a lot of free books and CDs and things I give away if you want to attend one of my workshops or retreats. I lecture across the country nationally as well. All that's listed on my website, TomBird, that's BIRD.com.
Good. And I was also interested, because people are also probably going, okay, so I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to have this relationship with God, and it's going to pour forth. Then what? And I was interested in what you said about traditional publishing, that you're not a great fan of traditional publishing. And if that's the case, what do people do once they have this book done?
Well, I published my first book in 1983, and so I was stuck with traditional book publishing for a considerable period of time because there was no other alternative. But I'm a pretty smart guy, and when I looked at it business-wise, I thought, man, I'm getting ripped off here.
Yeah.
I produce the product, I get very little of the income from the product, I have no control. This system sucks. So I was hoping that before my life ended that I'd see a resurgence of something new, an opportunity for authors to really control their own destiny, financially especially. And with the crash of the economy in 2008, it basically wiped out conventional publishing. I mean, it still exists. It's a shadow of itself, and it's very incompetent. But a form of publishing surfaced, several forms of publishing, self-publishing surfaced, that enables an author to control their own destiny and make at least 10 to 15 times as much money per book sale as they would have made through conventional book publishing. So to make $1 million, let's say your degree of success is saying, I made $1 million on a book. Now you have to sell about 85,000 books to make $1 million, where if you go through conventional book publishing to make $1 million, you're going to sell nearly 850,000 copies of that book, which is really hard to do. So what I recommend is people go to my website, TomBird.com, and on the freebie page there's a lecture, a video lecture, which I do, called The New Age of Publishing, which explains the ins and outs of how publishing is alive and well today. And we're actually in the golden age of publishing. We are in the golden age of publishing. There's never been a better time to be a new published author than today. And just in my retreats the last 2 years, we've had 40 number one Amazon bestsellers come through our retreats. And these are people that walked in off the street, had a desire, had frustration, had fear about writing, had no idea in a lot of cases what they were going to write. They came out of the retreat, and within a few months, they're best-selling authors. So, God leads us not only to the writing of our books, to write our books, and through the writing of our books, but to the publication of them. Because the messages that come through our books, they don't have to be always spiritual in nature. The messages that come through our books are meant to be embodied and circulated throughout the world, because that's God's way of talking to his children. Mm-hmm. And so the book has a plan, and if you listen to the book, it may sound a little outrageous. Those of us who have children, occasionally our children sound outrageous, but it resonates with truth, and we're best to follow their ideas or what they want to do with their lives, because then we're both happy. It's kind of the same union with a book. It's kind of like you're getting these visions of hanging out with Oprah. Your book is saying, hey, Oprah's waiting for us, and you're like, well, how do I do this? I don't feel worthy. Well, no, your feelings are insignificant, Susan. What matters is where we're going together. Don't worry about how we're going to get there. Just let me drive the car. You sit in the passenger seat, enjoy the ride, and you'll get all the credit for getting us there. And so the book has a purpose because the book is God.
That's right. I have felt that way about this recent book, especially. It's felt so divinely led. You don't have to die to go to heaven. That I could actually, help. I would love to help millions of people no longer fear death, and millions of people know they're immortal and know that their loved ones are doing great. I just feel this bubbling up inside me of joy that would change a whole paradigm in this country of people fearing death and then not living fully here. So yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of that joy, that peace that I felt when the book was completed. And now that I feel like it's like fairy dust, it's being sprinkled out there in the world. And my hope is that it transforms people's lives.
It's transformed my life just listening to your story. And Susan, when you come to one of my retreats, and I'm inviting you to come to one of my retreats as my guest, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen for you. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen for you. You're going to meet your husband in the writing of your next book.
Wow.
You're going to feel him there. You guys are going to feel him there, and it'll be like you two are having a conversation while sitting on the couch together, and you'll be writing the book together. He transitioned as a way of helping you grow, helping your ministry grow even greater. That's the whole essence of that book he just published.
You're right.
He transitioned because he can help you better from that side than he could from here. So you two are in a union to do a lot more than just hang out as husband and wife.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'll talk another time with you about this, because if you get my book, You Don't Have to Die to Go to Heaven, you'll see that a lot of it is about him and about meeting him in heaven. And I already feel that he's there to support me. We're getting close to the end of the show. I could talk to you for 2 more hours. I'm sorry that I have to say that we're coming to a close. And Tom, thank you so much for being my guest. And I would love to have you on. I'd love to have you on again.
I'd love to be on again, Susan. It's been a great time for me today. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And thank you, my wonderful listeners, for being here and for taking the leap of faith and doing what's in your heart of hearts, your deepest desire, whether it's writing this book that's inside you or becoming an artist or whatever else is calling you. I believe in you, and now believe in yourself. Join me next week to welcome Celeste Iacoboni, who will inspire us with her new book, How Do You Pray? Until then, this is Dr. Susan reminding you that you carry the light.
You've been listening to the transformative show, We Carry the Light, with host Dr. Susan Allison, the show that inspires you to find the light within and shine your light in the world. Who are you right now, and who do you want to be? What is it that makes you happy, helps you feel fulfilled, and living your purpose? Tune in every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, and let Dr. Susan help you discover that you carry the unique light that only you can shine.